All right, so we're going to talk about LAANC. And as soon as we get into talking about LAANC, we're going to talk about the assignment that's going to go in conjunction with LAANC. There's two assignments that'll be there. So LAANC is a low altitude authorization notification capability. This is nothing more than a fancy acronym that means this is a collaboration tool, how we communicate between the drone and the drone user, the manned aircraft, and the air traffic controller, and FAA. It's how we all coordinate and notify each other of things that are important to us. So, point number one, the drone pilots are able to access the controlled airspace from 0 to 400 feet above ground level. Now, we know that manned aircraft, they move in the controlled airspace through communicating with the air traffic control tower, and they use radio. We're not going to communicate by radio. We're going to communicate through LAANC. We're going to be able to go into an app and either ask permission to fly in a particular area or have automatic authorization and just notify ATC that we're going to be flying in a particular area. Okay, so it's a tool. The whole thing is a tool. There's 4 points to the LAANC program. Like I said, we're going to want to fly our drones. If we go out in the middle of the country where we're not near the airport, we don't need to use LAANC. We don't need to notify anyone. We just take our helicopters up and we fly. So in order for us to access the airspace between the controlled airspace between 0 and 400 foot above ground level, we're going to use LAANC as that tool for us to either request permission or notify ATC that we'll be flying in that area. Now, by using the LAANC map, we're able to see where we can fly and where we cannot fly. Third, the temporary flight restrictions. The temporary flight restrictions, or TFRs, are those restrictions that are put in place, like it sounds, just for a temporary period of time. So a couple examples. Number one, if the president's coming to town and he's going to drive down Main Street and have a big parade, you will likely see a TFR that says, without prior approval, you can't fly in this area. Even if it was uncontrolled airspace before, that TFR can now create it to be a controlled airspace. If it was controlled airspace before with automatic authorization up to 400 feet, they can still place the TFR, which means you can't fly in that space without requesting prior authorization to do so. If you remember when the Chinese weather balloons were crossing the country and then it crashed into the ocean, there was a temporary flight restriction, or TFR, that was placed over that crash site to allow for emergency personnel to secure the area. When we use LAANC and we get LAANC permission or authorization or notification that we're flying in a particular area, if there's a temporary flight restriction, that's the place that we're going to see that communication from FAA or from the control tower from ATC. And finally, number 4, air traffic professionals are able to see where and when drones will operate. Okay, so we're going to go out and we're going to fly. We use LAANC. We notify them we're there. They have the information. Most likely they're not going to see it. They don't care. But when there's maybe those times where they do care, let's say they're coordinating a mass casualty event and they're bringing a lot of aircraft into one particular area, if you're flying nearby doing a drone flight not related to that disaster, you're just doing regular mapping mission, they'll need to know that they have a drone in the area, especially if they're navigating low flying aircraft. So anyways, whatever they want that information, that's what we're going to do for them. All right, so let's just look at a couple things as we kind of wrap up what LAANC is. Before you fly is the term given from the FAA to help us use one of 5 companies to provide us those services so that we're able to authorize our flights before we go out and fly. That's why we call it before you fly. You can get to these websites through FAA Drone Zone and use the word before you fly, and you'll really be able to link to everything. So I'm linking from Aloft and Airwave, and you can see this is Airwave and this is the Airwave logo, and this one here is the Aloft logo. Within the Aloft page, there's quite a bit of information that can help you understand a little bit more about what Aloft is doing in conjunction with Airwave, and we can figure out everything we need to know by going to these websites. So let's take a look at Airwave, and I'm going to pop in here. Let's just pop here for a second. So if you look in the map, we look at the big map, we see all these shaded areas. Those are the areas that are controlled airspace. Those are the ones that we're going to use LAANC to communicate. When we're outside of that area, where you don't see shaded area, those areas that we're flying in, there's still controlled airspace, but there's no controlled airspace between 0 and 400 feet above ground level, and that's all we're worried about. So this map is showing us within 0 to 400, if it's got a controlled airspace that your drone would have to follow regulations on, it's going to be highlighted. All right. Now, so once you find the place that you're ready to go, you're going to go in and you're going to click here to request LAANC. I want to show you one here as we look at this LAANC authorization. If you notice here, this one here is in a 0, but because this local aircraft, airport, the Jones Airport, they will go ahead and review within about 72 hours, and normally it's shorter. They'll go ahead and review any request that you may have in that 0 time frame, and they will put that up for further consideration. So if you go into a space that's 0, go ahead and try to do the LAANC. And if it's authorized for further consideration, that means that the air traffic control tower is willing and able to receive those requests and do them for themselves, then they will. If for some reason you're in the 0 and there's not further consideration, that typically means that the tower is not capable or able for whatever reason, and they're not going to help you get approval. You're going to have to file for a waiver through the FAA, and that's not what this period of instruction is about. This is just primarily about getting LAANC authorization. So let's just jump to, because what you'll probably do this on is your phone, a mobile device. So we can do LAANC. We can do LAANC from our screen. So let's pop in here. Let's pop in here and look. We can do it from our screen, and we can pick an area that we want to fly, and we can ask for LAANC support. I'm going to get out of this because this is my active screen. But I do not want to be there. I'm going to get rid of this one and hop in here, and let's get over here to this 200 feet near this neighborhood Walmart, because this is permissible for altitude of 200 feet. Okay. And we can go through these steps, but I'm going to go through them on the phone. All right, so I'm going to go into the mobile phone, and we're going to grab Aloft air control, and we're going to request LAANC. So let me show you how I do this. You can see it there from the App Store. It's Aloft air control. We're going to open that up, and we can see once it opens up. I'm already logged in, but we can see everywhere that we might want to fly, and we can move that dot around wherever we think we're going to fly. And so let's just go fly here at Mandarin Taste Restaurant. We're going to click LAANC, and we're going to click because I'm flying Part 107. If you're flying recreational, you'll choose that. So I'm going to pick commercial, and I've got the space that I have in there. And let's just say I'm only going to fly 100 feet. So it's eligible for up to 200. If you wanted to go more, then it would be under further consideration. So again, that further consideration means that the air traffic control will consider that. If you can prove reasonably that you can fly so safely, they're likely to give that to you. So you hit next, and you can set that for a date in the future if you need to, or if you're going to fly right now, you hit now, and you can set that duration for up to a full day. So if you have a long project, you're going to want to put that in. It's not so important when you're flying in an area that you get automatic approval for, but if you're flying in an area that's up for further consideration, it's important that you put the date that you want to fly and how long you're going to be there, so that way your paperwork they send back to you, that's going to be your authorization to fly. It's going to cover you during those flight hours. So it's very important that you make sure that that's filled out if you are requesting special consideration or further consideration. Okay, make sure you read the notes and understand. If you're going to go into further considerations, you can't do it today and say I'm going to fly today. They won't approve it. It's likely you can put one in for tomorrow. It won't let you put one in for tomorrow morning, but it's likely you can put one in for 72 hours away, and it's you may get approved for it by the time you wake up in the morning. So they've gotten to it really quick, but you have to give them 72 hours to get to it. Okay. So now it says I'm eligible for auto approval, and they're showing you the authorizing airport, which is Jones Riverside, the RSV, and the class of airspace, which is D, and the duration of your flight, some information. Again, it talks a little bit more about LAANC and privacy and terms. These are going to repeat themselves every time you agree. And once you agree, then boom, you have it. And what will happen is you'll actually get a text from LAANC. There you go, that says LAANC approved, authorized by FAA, and it gives you your information. And you can go up and see here where I've gotten those approvals for other airports and other locations throughout time. So you have all that information. And that information becomes important for you to have in the event that you need to do any unlocking depending on what device you're flying. Some devices will require you to unlock that area, and you'll need it. So, all right. So this is just a quick introduction, or maybe it wasn't quick. It was kind of a long video, but it kind of talked about airspace. It talked about LAANC authorization. I'm going to require you to go get LAANC authorization, and in one of your assignments, you're going to copy and paste that authorization you got. So just like I did, you go run through that process. That's going to make you have to set up your accounts, get the apps on your phone, and go through that process at least one time so that you know you can do it. Now that leads me into your first assignment. So we have to get LAANC in case you're going to find that area. If you're flying near RSU, you won't have to worry about that because there's not a controlled space there. But now you know how to do it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to come in here and let's just pop into your drone. You get ready to go out to fly. You've already got your LAANC, and here we go. We're going to take off. What I'm expecting from you is a high altitude assignment. I want you to notice that when you're in an area, it's going to show here. You see that you are in a controlled airspace. It'll give you that warning, and you'll want to click and say, yep, I accept the warning, and then click OK. That way you can get that off the screen. Then you want to get up in the air, and we want this to be a high altitude image. This is a real typical real estate photo. You'll want to make sure that you climb up to 400 feet. If you're happen to be doing this in an area that you can't get 400 feet and you can only get 200, that's fine. But I'm really hoping that what you'll do is get out to a location where you can get 400 feet because we're looking for high altitude images. All right, so let's say that we've been given this property owner here in the front part wants a high altitude image for real estate use. Once you notice that we get straight on in the center of the property, and that's kind of what the drone is doing now. It's going to center itself. It's going to you want to try to get 90% or so of the property in the view. This is maybe probably about 80. And then you're going to see here, we lift it up and got the horizon. Really makes the picture much better. It also gives the overall view to the client that they can see what's surrounding this property. So this often goes into advertisements or selling. This is how they want it. This looks the best. And if you would have cut all that off, it just feels closed in. So we're going to do all cardinal directions. Those are words you should hear often. Cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, which that includes northeast, southwest, southwest, and so on. So as you see here, we are started here in the center. We're going to take an image from the corner. Then here from the center, whoop, here's the center. Here from the center, from this corner, there, 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 and there. Okay, so we're going to get all those images done. So it's going to be 8 images total. You'll go around the property, get 8 images, and you're going to load those up into the assignment that says high altitude images. Okay, we're almost done. We just got to take 3 more shots. Okay, well, sometimes we're going to have to back up. We're going to make sure we get positioned in the right space so we have the entire property. This is the entire property in view at all times. Two more images. We're almost done. Oops, we got to back up so we can make sure and get all of the property in. We got the property in view. And we're going for the last image. All right. And there you go. That's all there is to it. LAANC authorization, high altitude flying. That's module 1. And I hope you enjoy your flight.